Single dad janitor saved the CEO's son. At school she looked at him like no one ever had before, but when the crowd gasped at what her little boy whispered next, the entire room realized this wasn't just a rescue, this was a secret no one saw coming. Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. Sam Hayes pushed his cleaning cart down the empty hallway of Whitmore Academy, his footsteps echoing against the polished marble floors. The night shift was ending, and moonlight filtered through the tall windows, casting long shadows across the prestigious school's walls, lined with academic achievement plaques and student artwork. He paused to wipe his brow with his uniform sleeve, glancing at his watch, 11:45 p.m. Just 15 more minutes until he could head home to Lily. The thought of his 8-year-old daughter brought a tired smile to his face. She would be waiting up for him, even though he always told her not to. The cart's squeaky wheel seemed extra loud in the empty building as Sam made his final rounds. His muscles ached from hours of scrubbing floors and emptying trash bins, but he couldn't complain. The job paid better than his previous positions, and the health insurance covered Lily's asthma medication. Still, his chest tightened whenever he thought about the life he wanted to give her. During the day, these halls were filled with children in pressed uniforms, carrying expensive backpacks and the latest gadgets. Their parents drove luxury cars and lived in homes that could fit 4 of Sam's small apartment. "Just keep moving forward," he whispered to himself, the same words he'd repeated like a prayer since losing his wife Maria 3 years ago. The memory of her still brought an ache to his heart, but he had to stay strong for Lily. Finally reaching the storage closet, Sam carefully organized his supplies, a habit from his military days that he couldn't shake. Everything had its place, labeled and arranged just so. It was one of the reasons the head custodian had recommended him for the position at Whitmore Academy 6 months ago. The drive home in his old pickup truck was quiet, with only the soft hum of the heater fighting against the early spring chill. Their apartment building came into view, not the prettiest place, but clean and safe enough. Sam climbed the 3 flights of stairs, his legs heavy from the long shift. As expected, a thin line of light showed under their apartment door. He inserted his key as quietly as possible, but before he could turn it, the door flew open. "Daddy!" Lily launched herself at him, her dark hair flying. She wore her favorite worn pajamas, with cats printed all over them. "Hey, sweetheart." Sam caught her in a tight hug, breathing in the familiar scent of her strawberry shampoo. "You're supposed to be asleep." "I was reading," she said, pointing to the book splayed open on their second-hand couch. "Mrs. Martinez next door checked on me an hour ago." Sam carried her inside, making sure to lock the door behind them. Their apartment was small but tidy, another habit he'd passed on to Lily. Her artwork decorated the walls, bright splashes of color against the beige paint they weren't allowed to change. "Did you finish your homework?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. Lily never failed to complete her assignments, determined to make him proud. "All done. Even the extra credit math problems." She beamed up at him. "And I made you a sandwich. It's in the fridge." Sam's heart swelled with love and a touch of sadness. She was growing up too fast, taking on responsibilities no 8-year-old should have to shoulder. "Thank you, honey, but you didn't have to do that." "I wanted to," she insisted, following him to their tiny kitchen. "How was work?" Sam retrieved the carefully wrapped sandwich, touched by the way she'd cut off the crusts just like he liked. "Same as always. The gym floor needed extra buffing after today's basketball practice." Lily climbed onto one of their mismatched kitchen chairs, watching him eat. "Tyler from my class was at that practice. He has new shoes that light up when he runs." The unspoken wish in her voice made Sam's sandwich harder to swallow. Lily never asked for expensive things, which somehow made it worse. "Maybe we can look for some light-up shoes at the outlet store next month," he offered, knowing they'd have to stretch the budget even thinner. "It's okay, Daddy. I like my regular shoes." She yawned, finally showing signs of tiredness. "All right, bedtime for real now." Sam scooped her up again, carrying her to her small bedroom. The walls here were her canvas, covered in drawings of flowers, animals, and the house she sometimes dreamed about, one with a backyard and a tree for climbing. As he tucked her into bed, Lily grabbed his hand. Tell me about Mom." It was their nightly ritual, one that helped keep Maria's memory alive. Sam sat on the edge of the bed, smoothing Lily's hair back from her forehead. "Your mom loved nights like this, quiet ones where we could just be together. She used to say that happiness wasn't about having lots of stuff, but about having lots of love." "Did she draw like me?" "She sure did. That's where you got your talent from. She could look at anything and turn it into something beautiful on paper." Sam smiled at the memory. "Just like you do." Lily's eyes were growing heavy, but she fought sleep for one more question. "Do you think she'd be proud of us?" "I know she would be, sweetheart. She'd be so proud of how brave and kind you are." Sam leaned down to kiss her forehead. "Now close those eyes." He waited until her breathing evened out before quietly leaving her room. In the living room, Sam sank onto the couch, allowing himself a moment of vulnerability now that Lily couldn't see. The weight of single parenthood pressed down on his shoulders, along with the constant worry that he wasn't doing enough. His gaze fell on the Whitmore Academy newsletter Lily had brought home in her backpack. The glossy pages showed smiling students in state-of-the-art classrooms, enjoying opportunities his daughter could only dream about. The scholarship that allowed her to attend covered tuition, but there were always extra costs: field trips, special programs, proper uniforms to replace the second-hand ones as she grew. Sam rubbed his tired eyes, thinking about the maintenance certification courses he'd been studying for online after Lily went to bed. If he could just get better qualified, maybe he could move up to facilities management. The pay increase would make such a difference in their lives. But for now, he had to rest. Morning would come too soon, bringing another day of endless tasks and the challenge of holding his head high while working among people who barely noticed him. Sam checked the locks one more time, then headed to his own small bedroom, saying a quiet prayer of thanks for what they did have: each other, a roof over their heads, and hope for tomorrow. The alarm seemed to buzz only minutes after he closed his eyes. Sam rolled out of bed at 5:30 a.m., going through his morning routine quietly to let Lily sleep a little longer. After getting her up and ready for school, dropping her off at the early morning program, he began his day shift at the academy. The morning sun was just starting to warm the windows as Sam pushed his mop along the hallway near the gymnasium. The squeak of sneakers and bounce of basketballs from early morning practice created a familiar soundtrack to his work. Suddenly, the normal gym sounds were interrupted by shouting, not the usual excited calls of players, but genuine cries for help. Sam's head snapped up, his body tensing at the panic in the voices. Without hesitation, he dropped his mop and moved quickly toward the gymnasium doors, his heart beginning to race as the shouts grew more urgent. The next morning's weak sunlight filtered through the gym's high windows as Sam methodically mopped the basketball court. The squeak of his shoes against the freshly cleaned floor was interrupted by sudden shouts from the other side of the gymnasium. "Help! Someone help!" A girl's panicked voice echoed through the vast space. Sam's head snapped up. Through the morning haze, he saw a cluster of students near the retracted bleachers, their faces pale with fear. Without hesitation, he dropped his mop and sprinted across the court, his heart pounding. As he got closer, he heard whimpers coming from beneath the partially collapsed bleachers. A small boy was trapped underneath, his blue blazer bearing the Whitmore Academy crest, now dusty and wrinkled. "It hurts," the boy cried, his voice trembling. "I can't move." Two teachers stood frozen nearby, their faces ashen. One held a phone, fumbling to dial emergency services with shaking hands. The other kept repeating, "Don't move, Ethan, just don't move." Sam dropped to his knees beside the bleachers, quickly assessing the situation. The metal framework had given way, creating a dangerous tangle of supports and seats that pressed down on the boy. Through the gaps, he could see that Ethan's leg was pinned, but thankfully, the bulk of the weight wasn't directly on him. "Hey there, buddy," Sam said softly, meeting the boy's frightened eyes. "I'm Sam. Can you tell me where it hurts?" My leg," Ethan sniffled, trying to be brave. "And my side," Sam nodded, keeping his voice steady and calm. "Okay, Ethan, we're going to get you out of there. I need you to be really still for me. Can you do that?" The boy nodded, his brown eyes wide with trust. Sam examined the collapsed structure, his mind racing through years of maintenance experience. The bleachers had partially fallen in a way that created a pocket around Ethan, but one wrong move could make the whole thing shift. "Miss Parker," he called to one of the teachers, "I need you to clear everyone back, at least 20 feet. Then he turned to the other teacher. "Mr. Roberts, please call the nurse's office. We'll need them as soon as we get him out." The teachers seemed relieved to have clear instructions, quickly moving to action. Sam turned his attention back to Ethan, who had started to cry quietly. "Hey, Ethan, want to know something cool?" Sam asked, carefully positioning himself near the most stable part of the structure. "I used to build things like these bleachers. That means I know exactly how to take them apart too." This wasn't entirely true. He'd only helped with installations during a brief construction job years ago, but the white lie served its purpose. Ethan's breathing steadied slightly as he focused on Sam's words. "Really?" the boy asked. "Really," Sam confirmed, grunting as he braced his shoulder against a key support beam. "Now, I'm going to lift this part up. When I do, I need you to scoot backward very slowly. Can you move your arms okay?" Ethan wiggled his arms to demonstrate. "Yeah. Perfect. You're doing great, buddy." Sam took a deep breath, planting his feet firmly. "Okay. On 3. 1, 2, 3. With a tremendous effort, Sam pushed upward against the metal frame. His muscles screamed in protest, but he could feel the structure shifting. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he held the weight steady. "Now, Ethan, nice and slow." The boy began inching backward, wincing as his leg came free. Sam's arms trembled with the strain, but he didn't dare let up until Ethan was completely clear. "Almost there," Sam encouraged through gritted teeth. "Just a little more." With one final effort, Ethan pulled himself free of the bleachers. The moment he was clear, Sam carefully lowered the frame back down, his arms shaking from the exertion. Ethan lay on the gym floor, dirty and scared but alive. Sam quickly knelt beside him, checking for obvious injuries. The boy's leg was scraped and bruised, and he'd probably have some impressive bruises on his side, but nothing appeared broken. "You did so well," Sam praised, giving Ethan's shoulder a gentle squeeze. "That was very brave." Before Ethan could respond, the gym doors burst open with a bang. A tall woman in an impeccable business suit strode in, her high heels clicking rapidly against the floor. Her face was a mask of barely contained panic. "Ethan!" she called out, her voice carrying across the gym. "Oh God! Ethan! Mommy!" Ethan tried to sit up, wincing slightly. The woman, who Sam now recognized as Catherine Whitmore, the Academy's owner and one of the most powerful CEOs in the city, rushed to her son's side. She dropped to her knees, not caring about her expensive suit, and gathered Ethan into her arms. "Baby? Are you okay? What happened?" She pulled back, checking him over with trembling hands. "The bleachers fell," Ethan explained, clinging to his mother. "But Mr. Sam saved me. He's really strong, Mommy, and he knows all about bleachers." For the first time, Catherine Whitmore looked up at Sam, who had respectfully stepped back a few paces. Their eyes met, and Sam saw something shift in her expression. The carefully maintained facade of a powerful executive melted away, replaced by raw gratitude and relief. Her eyes, the same warm brown as her son's, filled with tears. "You saved him?" she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Sam shifted uncomfortably under her intense gaze. "I just happened to be here, ma'am. Anyone would have done the same." Catherine looked around at the other adults present, then back at Sam, her expression making it clear that no, not anyone would have done what he did. She held his gaze for a long moment, and Sam found himself unable to look away. In that moment, he wasn't just the night janitor, and she wasn't just the powerful CEO. They were simply two parents who understood the precious value of a child's life. Sam's fingers trembled slightly as he folded his gray work uniform, tucking it carefully into his locker. The events of the morning felt like a blur, the screams, the trapped boy, the rush of adrenaline as he'd lifted the heavy bleachers. Now, as the afternoon sun slanted through the maintenance room's small window, all he wanted was to slip away quietly and get home to Lily. He shouldered his worn backpack and headed for the service exit, keeping his head down as he passed through the now empty hallways. The click of heels against polished marble made him freeze. "Mr. Hayes!" Catherine Whitmore's voice carried the same authority it had held in the gymnasium. "Please wait." Sam turned slowly, suddenly very aware of his faded jeans and old work boots. Catherine approached with measured steps, her navy business suit perfectly pressed, her presence filling the hallway. Up close, he noticed the slight redness around her eyes, the only sign that she'd been crying earlier. "Ma'am," Sam said quietly, "I hope Ethan is doing better, thanks to you." Catherine's professional demeanor softened slightly. "The doctor says he's just bruised. It could have been so much worse if you hadn't." She paused, composing herself. "Mr. Hayes, I can't simply let you disappear without properly thanking you." "That's really not necessary," Sam started. "I'm hosting a luncheon this Saturday," Catherine continued, her tone making it clear this wasn't really a request. "Nothing too formal, just a few school board members and some close friends. I'd like you to be there, your daughter too, of course." Sam shifted uncomfortably. "Mrs. Whitmore, I appreciate the offer, but we're not really." He gestured vaguely at himself, at his worn clothes. "You saved my son." Catherine's voice carried a hint of steel. "Status doesn't matter, you're coming as my honored guest." Sam saw something in her eyes then. Not pity, which he was used to, but something else. Recognition, maybe. Understanding. It made him pause. "The luncheon starts at noon," Catherine said, pulling out an elegant cream-colored envelope from her designer handbag. "The address is enclosed. Please, Mr. Hayes. Let me do this one thing." Sam accepted the envelope, careful not to crease it with his workman's hands. "Thank you, Mrs. Whitmore. We'll be there." Catherine nodded, satisfied. "Ethan asked about you, you know. He wants to thank you himself." Her lips curved in a small smile. "He says you're stronger than Superman." A warm flush crept up Sam's neck. "Just did what anyone would do." "No," Catherine said firmly. "They didn't. They all stood frozen. You acted." She checked her watch, transformation back to CEO mode instantaneous. "Saturday at noon, Mr. Hayes. Don't be late." Sam watched her walk away, the envelope feeling impossibly heavy in his hand. He tucked it carefully into his backpack and headed home, his mind already spinning with worries about what to wear, how to act, whether Lily had anything suitable to put on. Their small apartment felt especially modest that evening. Sam stirred the pot of mac and cheese, Lily's favorite, while his daughter sat at their scratched kitchen table, coloring with intense concentration. "Hey, sweetheart," Sam said, setting down 2 steaming bowls. "Something happened at work today." Lily looked up, her blue eyes curious. She had her mother's eyes, Sam thought with a familiar ache. "Did you catch another mouse in the gym?" Sam chuckled. "No, nothing like that. There was an accident this morning. A boy got stuck under some bleachers, and I helped get him out." "Was he hurt?" Lily's face scrunched with concern. "He's okay now. But his mom, well, she wants to thank us. She's invited us to a fancy lunch on Saturday." Lily's fork paused halfway to her mouth. "A fancy lunch? Like in the movies? Something like that." Sam pulled out the envelope, showing her the elegant script. "It's at her house. There'll be other people there too." Lily traced the golden lettering with one finger, her expression a mix of wonder and anxiety, so much like how Sam felt inside. "Can we dress fancy?" she asked in a small voice. Sam looked at his daughter. This precious girl, who'd never had a proper party dress, who wore second-hand clothes without complaint, who deserved so much more than he could give her. "Yeah, baby, we can dress fancy." "Really?" Her whole face lit up. Then, just as quickly, it fell. "But I don't have any fancy clothes." "We'll figure something out." Sam reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "Maybe we can ask Mrs. Rodriguez next door if she can help fix up that blue dress your aunt sent last Christmas." Lily nodded enthusiastically, but Sam's stomach churned with worry. The blue dress would need more than a few fixes. His own best outfit, a pair of khakis and a button-down shirt he wore for parent-teacher conferences, suddenly seemed hopelessly inadequate for a luncheon at the home of someone like Catherine Whitmore. They finished their dinner, Lily chattering excitedly about what the house might look like, whether there would be tiny sandwiches, like tea parties have. Sam listened. smiling at her enthusiasm, while mentally calculating how much he had in his emergency fund. Not much, but maybe enough for a simple dress for Lily. He'd make do with what he had. Later, after tucking Lily into bed with an extra long hug, Sam sat at the kitchen table with the envelope before him. The address was in the city's most exclusive neighborhood, a world away from their small apartment complex. He ran a hand through his hair, doubt gnawing at his insides. What was he thinking, agreeing to this? They didn't belong in that world. He could already imagine the sideways glances, the whispers behind manicured hands. But then he remembered the look in Catherine's eyes, that moment of genuine connection. And Lily's face, when she asked about dressing fancy, full of such innocent hope. Maybe, just maybe, it would be worth stepping out of their comfort zone. Just this once. Sam carefully placed the envelope on their small bulletin board, right next to Lily's latest art project, a crayon drawing of a butterfly. Saturday suddenly felt very close and very far away, all at once. Sam's old sedan looked out of place among the luxury cars lining the curved driveway of the Whitmore mansion. He adjusted his thrift store tie one last time, then glanced at Lily in the rearview mirror. She sat quietly in her blue dress, the nicest one they owned, freshly ironed this morning. "You look beautiful, sweetheart," Sam said softly. Lily fidgeted with the small bow at her waist. "What if I use the wrong fork, Daddy?" "Just watch what others do," he said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. "And remember, you're as good as anyone here." They walked up the wide stone steps, where a uniformed butler waited at massive double doors. Sam's work-roughened hand felt huge and clumsy as he shook the butler's perfectly manicured one. "Mr. Hayes and Miss Hayes," the butler announced as they entered. The foyer took Sam's breath away. A crystal chandelier threw rainbow lights across marble floors. Fresh flowers spilled from tall vases, their sweet scent mixing with the aroma of expensive perfume. Well-dressed guests turned to stare, their jewelry catching the light as they whispered behind manicured hands. Lily pressed closer to Sam's side, her small hand gripping his tightly. He squeezed back, reminding himself that they had as much right to be here as anyone. They'd been invited, after all. Catherine Whitmore glided toward them, elegant in a cream-colored dress. "Sam, Lily, I'm so glad you came." Her smile seemed genuine as she bent to Lily's level. "That's such a pretty dress. Blue is my favorite color, too." Some of the tension left Lily's shoulders at Catherine's kind words. "Thank you, Mrs. Whitmore," she whispered. "Mom, they're here." Ethan's excited voice carried across the room as he darted between guests. He skidded to a stop in front of Sam and Lily, grinning widely. "Come on, Lily, I want to show you my treehouse. You can see it through the window." Catherine laughed softly. "After lunch, sweetheart. Let's all get seated first." The dining room was just as impressive as the foyer. A long mahogany table gleamed beneath more crystal lights, each place set with what looked like real silver and delicate china. Sam helped Lily into her chair, quietly demonstrating how to spread the napkin across her lap. "Here, sit by me," Ethan insisted, pulling out the chair next to Lily. His enthusiasm drew indulgent smiles from some guests, raised eyebrows from others. Catherine took her place at the head of the table, with Sam seated to her left. "I hope everyone will forgive the informal seating arrangement," she said smoothly, though Sam noticed a few guests exchange glances. "Today is about gratitude, not protocol." The first course arrived, some kind of soup Sam couldn't name, but Lily managed well by watching Ethan's careful movements with his spoon. As conversations flowed around them, Sam found himself relaxing slightly. Catherine asked him questions about his work experience before becoming a janitor, seeming genuinely interested in his answers. "You have quite a background in operations management," she noted. "That's an unexpected combination." Sam shrugged. "Life takes unexpected turns sometimes." The main course brought tender beef and vegetables arranged like art on the plates. Sam noticed Lily watching Catherine, mimicking her graceful handling of the cutlery. His heart swelled with pride at his daughter's quiet determination to fit in. Ethan kept up a steady stream of chatter, telling Lily about his school projects and his pet fish named Bubble. His natural friendliness seemed to break through some of the earlier tension, and even some of the stuffier guests began to smile at his enthusiasm. When dessert arrived, delicate lemon tarts topped with fresh berries, Sam thought they'd made it through successfully. Lily had managed beautifully, and while they clearly didn't belong in this world of wealth and privilege, at least they hadn't embarrassed themselves. Then Ethan leaned toward Lily, his voice carrying clearly in that way children's whispers often do. "Mommy says you're my daddy." The silence that followed was absolute. Forks froze midway to mouths. Catherine's cheeks flushed deep red as she stared at her son in horror. Around the table, guests' heads turned sharply, their expressions ranging from shock to barely concealed glee at the scandal. Sam sat perfectly still, his dessert fork suspended above his plate as whispers began to ripple through the room like wind through dry leaves. The elegant dining room slowly emptied as guests filed out, their whispers fading into the afternoon air. Sam stood awkwardly by a tall window, his worn dress shoes sinking into the plush carpet. Lily clung to his hand, her small fingers wrapped tightly around his as she sensed the tension in the room. Catherine dismissed her household staff with a gentle wave, her composure intact despite the flush still evident on her cheeks. Ethan remained at the table, pushing a piece of chocolate cake around his plate, unaware of the commotion his innocent words had caused. "Mr. Hayes," Catherine began, then softened her tone. "Sam, I cannot apologize enough for what just happened." She moved closer, her designer heels clicking against the hardwood floor where the carpet ended. "Please, would you sit with me for a moment? There's something I need to explain." Sam nodded, guiding Lily to a chair beside him. "It's okay, Mrs. Whitmore. Kids say the darndest things, right?" He attempted a smile, trying to ease the awkwardness. "Catherine, please." She sat across from them, her perfect posture betraying the weight of what she needed to say. "What Ethan said. There's a reason behind it." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "My late husband James, he looked remarkably similar to you. The same height, similar build, even the way you carry yourself." Sam's eyes widened slightly as understanding dawned. "That's why Ethan," he trailed off, glancing at the boy who was now building a small fortress out of leftover cookies. "Yes," Catherine's voice caught slightly. "When Ethan saw you at the school, especially after you saved him, well, he's been talking about you constantly." I should have realized he might make that connection. She reached for a silver-framed photograph on a nearby sideboard and handed it to Sam. The man in the picture could have been his brother. The resemblance was uncanny. Sam studied it for a moment before carefully returning it. "I understand now. Don't worry about it, really." But worry lines creased Catherine's forehead as she glanced toward the front of the house, where cars were still pulling away. "Unfortunately, my social circle isn't as understanding. They love nothing more than speculation and scandal." She straightened a fork that was already perfectly aligned with its neighbors. "Which brings me to something I'd like to discuss with you." Lily had wandered over to Ethan and was shyly watching him arrange his cookie castle. The two children seemed oblivious to the adult conversation, lost in their own world. "I've been thinking," Catherine continued, her business acumen showing through as she chose her words carefully, "your actions at the school showed not just bravery, but quick thinking and natural leadership. These are qualities my company values highly." Sam shifted in his chair, already feeling out of place in this conversation. "Mrs. Whitmore, Catherine, I'm just a janitor. I did what anyone would do." "But that's just it." She leaned forward slightly, her eyes intense. "You didn't do what anyone would do." The teachers froze. The other adults panicked. "You assessed the situation and took action. That's rare." She paused, watching his reaction. "I have a proposition for you." The afternoon sun slanted through the tall windows, casting long shadows across the expensive rug. Sam could hear Ethan explaining the architectural merits of his cookie construction to an attentive Lily. "I'd like to offer you a temporary position at Whitmore Industries," Catherine said firmly. "We have a special projects division that could use someone with your observational skills and practical problem-solving abilities." Sam blinked, certain he had misheard. I don't have the qualifications. I never finished college. You have exactly the qualifications I'm Sam tugged at his new tie, the stiff collar of his dress shirt feeling like it was choking him. The suit Catherine had insisted on buying him hung perfectly on his broad shoulders, but he felt like a kid playing dress-up. His work-roughened hands seemed out of place against the sleek fabric. The gleaming lobby of Whitmore Enterprises stretched before him, all glass and chrome. His old work boots would have squeaked across these polished floors. Now his new dress shoes clicked with each step, drawing curious glances from employees hurrying past with their morning coffee. "Mr. Hayes?" A young woman in a crisp blazer approached him. "I'm Jessica, Mrs. Whitmore's assistant. Let me show you to your office." Office. The word felt foreign. Just last week, he'd been pushing a mop through hallways. Now, he was following Jessica past rows of cubicles, trying to ignore the whispers that trailed behind them. "Did you hear? That's the janitor. Can't believe she actually hired him. Wonder what she's thinking." Jessica led him to a modest but well-appointed office with a window view. "Mrs. Whitmore would like you to review these efficiency reports," she said, placing a thick stack of folders on his desk. "She values your unique perspective on operations." Sam caught the slight hesitation in her voice. "Thank you," he said simply, settling into the leather chair that probably cost more than his monthly rent. The morning crawled by in a blur of spreadsheets and corporate jargon. Sam's head spun trying to make sense of it all, but years of managing building maintenance had taught him to spot waste and inefficiency. He made careful notes, his practical experience highlighting problems the suits might have missed. At the water cooler, two men in expensive suits stopped talking when he approached. Sam filled his paper cup in silence, remembering how just days ago he would have been emptying their trash bins instead. "Hayes," Catherine's voice cut through his thoughts. She strode toward him, commanding attention in her tailored business suit. "How are you settling in?" "Fine, ma'am," Sam replied, noting how nearby employees straightened up at her presence. "Just getting oriented." "Good. Join me for lunch? We can discuss your initial observations." More whispers followed them to the executive dining room. Sam fumbled with the multiple forks laid out before him, while Catherine smoothly directed the conversation toward his findings. "These maintenance costs seem inflated," he explained, grateful to focus on something familiar. "From what I've seen, you're paying premium rates for basic services. I could show you where to cut without compromising quality." Catherine leaned forward, genuinely interested. "Go on." As Sam detailed his observations, he noticed other executives at nearby tables listening in. Some wore expressions of surprise, others scowled at being shown up by the janitor. The afternoon brought a department meeting where Sam sat quietly in the back, taking notes. A young executive was presenting proposed building upgrades when Sam noticed a serious flaw in the plans. "Excuse me," he spoke up, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "But that ventilation system won't meet code requirements for a building this size." The presenter's face reddened. "And you would know this how?" "8 years of facilities management," Sam replied calmly. "I've overseen similar installations. You'll need to adjust the specifications or the inspection won't pass." The room fell silent. Catherine, at the head of the table, smiled slightly. "Thank you, Mr. Hayes. Please, make note of that correction." By day's end, Sam's shoulders ached from tension. He loosened his tie as he drove to pick up Lily from school, worried about how her day had gone. Usually, she sat alone at recess, too shy to join the other children. But today, Lily practically bounced to the car, her face glowing. "Daddy, Ethan asked me to play with him at recess. We built a castle in the sandbox, and some other kids helped too." Sam's heart lightened, seeing her genuine smile. "That's wonderful, sweetheart. And guess what? Sarah from my class said she likes my hair ribbon. She asked if I want to sit with her at lunch tomorrow." Sam helped her buckle in, thinking of the ribbon Catherine had given Lily at the luncheon. Such a small thing, but it had helped his daughter feel like she belonged. "Daddy?" Lily asked, as they pulled away from the school. "How was your new job?" Sam thought about the challenges, the whispers, the awkward moments. But then he remembered Catherine's approving nod during the meeting, and how his practical knowledge had actually made a difference. "It was different," he said honestly. "But sometimes, different can be good." Lily nodded sagely. "Like making new friends?" Exactly like that, sweetheart, Sam replied, reaching over to squeeze her hand. Exactly like that. The familiar streets of their neighborhood came into view, modest houses a world away from the gleaming corporate tower he'd spent the day in. But for the first time in years, both Hayes' father and daughter had experienced what it felt like to truly belong somewhere new. The morning sunlight streamed through the large windows of Miss Parker's third-grade classroom, casting warm rectangles across the clustered desks where students worked in pairs. Lily Hayes sat next to Ethan Whitmore, her shoulders relaxed for the first time since starting at Whitmore Academy. "And then the dragon flew right over the castle," Ethan whispered excitedly as he colored their joint project, a large poster about their favorite books. His marker squeaked against the paper as he drew elaborate wings on his dragon. Lily giggled softly, adding careful details to her own side of the poster. "I like how you made the scales different colors." She reached for a purple marker, her usual shyness melting away in Ethan's enthusiastic presence. Miss Parker walked between the desks, pausing to observe their work. She noticed how Lily's usual hunched posture had straightened, how her voice carried more confidence when speaking to Ethan. The teacher smiled, remembering how, just last week, Lily had barely spoken above a whisper. "What's your favorite part of your book, Lily?" Ethan asked, trading his green marker for a blue one. Lily pointed to her drawing of a girl in a garden. "When Mary finds the key to the secret garden, it's like magic, but real magic." Her voice grew stronger with each word. "Sometimes I pretend our apartment building has secret places too." "Really?" Ethan's eyes widened with interest. "We should look for secret places here at school." "You two are doing wonderful work together," Miss Parker commented, bending down to examine their poster. "Lily, I love the detail you've put into your garden drawing." A light blush colored Lily's cheeks, but instead of ducking her head, as she usually would, she offered a small, "Thank you." During their morning break, Ethan shared his chocolate chip cookies with Lily, and she traded him her apple slices. They sat in a sunny spot in the courtyard, their legs crossed under them, talking about their favorite stories. "Dad reads to me every night," Lily said, carefully breaking a cookie in half. "Even when he's really tired from work." "My mom tries to," Ethan replied, his voice getting quieter. "But sometimes she has important meetings. The nanny reads to me instead. But it's not the same." Lily reached out and patted his hand, an instinctive gesture of comfort she'd learned from her father. "Maybe you could come over sometime, and my dad could read to both of us?" Ethan's face lit up. "That would be awesome. Your dad is really nice. He's like a superhero, the way he saved me." Back in the classroom, their teacher noted how Lily raised her hand to answer questions 3 times that day. A new record. During group reading, her voice carried clearly to the back of the room as she took her turn with the story. Mrs. Thompson, the school counselor, stopped by to observe the class and noticed the change too. She made a note in her file about Lily's progress, particularly the positive influence of her friendship with Ethan. As the afternoon drew to a close, the children gathered their backpacks and lunchboxes. Lily and Ethan walked together to the pickup area, still chattering about their project. "Can we work on it more tomorrow?" Ethan asked hopefully. "Yes, please," Lily replied, clutching her worn backpack straps. "I want to add more flowers to the garden part." They spotted their parents at the same time. Catherine Whitmore stood in her elegant business suit, her phone in one hand, while Sam waited nearby in his new office clothes that still made him look slightly uncomfortable. "Daddy!" Lily called out, her voice carrying across the schoolyard without a trace of her usual timidity. She hurried toward him, Ethan following close behind. "Hey, sweetheart," Sam said, kneeling down to give her a hug. "How was your day?" "It was great. Ethan and I are doing our project together, and we're making it all about dragons and secret gardens." The words tumbled out in excited rushes, so different from her usual quiet reports. Catherine approached, her heels clicking on the pavement. "It sounds like you two had fun today," she said, smoothing Ethan's hair as he hugged her legs. "Mom, can Lily come over sometime, or can I go to her house? Mr. Hayes knows how to read stories really well. Lily said so." Ethan looked up at his mother with pleading eyes. Catherine's expression softened. She glanced at Sam, who stood with his hands in his pockets, trying not to look as out of place as he felt. "We'll have to arrange something," she said diplomatically. "Your son has been very kind to Lily," Sam said, his voice quiet but steady. "She's really coming out of her shell." "It's Lily who's been good for Ethan," Catherine replied. She hesitated, then added in a lower voice, "Thank you, Sam, for everything. He hasn't been this happy in a long time." Sam shrugged, uncomfortable with the praise, but a warm feeling spread through his chest. "Kids just need friends," he said simply. "And sometimes adults do too," he added, surprising himself with his boldness. The corner of Catherine's mouth lifted in a small smile. "Indeed they do," she agreed softly. They watched as their children showed each other their homework assignments, heads bent together over their backpacks, lost in their own world of friendship and shared stories. Miss Parker, walking past with her teaching materials, stopped briefly. "Mr. Hayes, Mrs. Whitmore, I just wanted to let you know what a wonderful influence Lily and Ethan have been on each other. Lily participated more today than she has all year." "That's wonderful to hear," Sam said, his chest swelling with pride as he watched his daughter laugh at something Ethan had said. Catherine nodded in agreement, her professional mask softening as she observed the children's easy companionship. The warm afternoon sun caught the silver threads in her dark hair, and for a moment she looked less like a powerful CEO and more like any other mother delighting in her child's happiness. Sam shifted uncomfortably in his new dress shirt as he studied the maintenance cost reports spread across his temporary desk. After 3 days at Whitmore Enterprises, he still felt like a fish out of water. The sleek office furniture and floor-to-ceiling windows were a far cry from his mop bucket and cleaning cart. But numbers were numbers, and Sam had always been good with them, even if nobody knew it. He frowned, noticing a pattern in the building's operational expenses. The same suppliers, the same inflated costs, month after month. Nobody seemed to question it. He gathered his courage and pressed the intercom button Catherine had shown him. "Mrs. Whitmore? I think I found something you might want to see." "Come in, Sam." Catherine's voice crackled through the speaker. Inside her corner office, Catherine sat behind an imposing mahogany desk, looking elegant as always in her tailored blazer. "What have you noticed?" Sam laid out the reports, his calloused fingers pointing to specific lines. "See these maintenance supplies? The company's paying premium prices for basic items. I know from my janitorial work that we could get the same quality for almost half the cost from different vendors." Catherine leaned forward, her eyes sharp. "Go on. Take these industrial cleaning solutions." Sam pulled out a detailed list he'd prepared. "By switching suppliers and buying in bulk, you could save about $30,000 annually. That's just on cleaning supplies." Catherine's perfectly shaped eyebrows rose. 30,000? "Yes, ma'am. And that's not counting the paper products, light bulbs, and other basics." Sam shuffled through more papers. "I've worked with these products for years. The expensive ones aren't always better." Catherine studied him with new interest. "You've done your homework, Sam," he shrugged, suddenly self-conscious. "It's just common sense. When you're stretching every dollar at home, you learn to spot waste. Common sense isn't as common as you'd think." Catherine smiled, really smiled, for the first time since he'd started working there. "Would you be willing to review all our facility maintenance contracts?" "Of course." Sam straightened, feeling a spark of pride. "I could start right now." Throughout the afternoon, they worked together, Sam explaining the practical realities of maintenance work while Catherine took notes. She asked sharp questions that showed she was really listening, not just humoring him. "You know," Catherine said during a break, "most consultants would have spent weeks producing an expensive report telling us the same thing." "I'm not most consultants," Sam said with a slight grin. "Just a janitor who pays attention." "You're more than that, Sam." Catherine's voice was soft but firm. "You see things others miss. That's valuable." The sincere compliment caught him off guard. He ducked his head, focusing on reorganizing the papers. Later, as Sam was gathering his things to leave, Catherine appeared in his office doorway. "Sam, I was thinking, would you and Lily like to join Ethan and me for dinner? Nothing fancy, just that little diner near the school." The kids seemed to get along so well. Sam hesitated. Dinner with the CEO of Whitmore Enterprises? But something in Catherine's expression looked almost hopeful. Lily would love that, he said finally. She talks about Ethan all the time now. Wonderful. Meet us there at 6? Catherine's professional mask slipped just a bit, revealing genuine warmth. The Bell Tower Diner was a cozy spot with red vinyl booths and checkered tablecloths, about as far from Catherine's usual elegant restaurants as you could get. When Sam and Lily arrived, Ethan waved excitedly from a corner booth. "Lily, come sit by me." Ethan scooted over, making room. Lily glanced at her father, who nodded encouragingly. Catherine had changed out of her power suit into a simple sweater, looking more relaxed than Sam had ever seen her. "I hope this place is okay," she said. "Ethan loves their milkshakes." "It's perfect," Sam replied, settling into the booth. "Lily and I come here sometimes for special occasions." The kids immediately dove into an animated discussion about their class project while studying the children's menu. Their chatter filled the comfortable silence between the adults. "Daddy, can I get chocolate chip pancakes?" Lily asked, her eyes bright with hope. "For dinner?" Sam raised an eyebrow, but couldn't help smiling at her excitement. "Please? Ethan's getting them too?" Catherine laughed, a genuine, melodious sound Sam had never heard before. "I suppose we can break the rules just this once." "Yeah." Both kids cheered, then dissolved into giggles. As they waited for their food, the conversation flowed naturally. Catherine asked about Lily's favorite subjects in school, and Sam found himself sharing funny stories about some of his maintenance adventures. There was no pretense here, no corporate politics or social expectations. "You should have seen Dad when the science lab's pet snake got loose," Lily said between bites of pancake. "He found it sleeping in a boot." "You never told me about that," Catherine said, looking amused. Sam chuckled. "Not my proudest moment. I may have screamed a little." "He screamed a lot," Lily corrected, making Ethan laugh so hard he almost snorted milk through his nose. "Mom never tells funny stories about work," Ethan said, wiping his face. "That's because corporate board meetings aren't very exciting," Catherine replied, but her eyes twinkled. "Although there was that time Mr. Patterson fell asleep during budget reviews and started snoring." The evening passed quickly, filled with easy conversation and shared laughter. Sam noticed how Catherine's shoulders had relaxed, how her smile came more readily. Here, away from the pressure of her corporate world, she seemed more real. The kids had moved on to drawing pictures on their paper placemats with the diner's crayons, heads bent together in concentration. Sam watched them, feeling a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with the coffee. "Thank you," Catherine said quietly, following his gaze, "for suggesting those changes today. And for this." She gestured at their simple dinner setting. "Thank you for listening," Sam replied. Not many people would have. Their eyes met across the table, and for a moment, something unspoken passed between them. An understanding, perhaps, or the beginning of one. Ethan's voice broke the moment. "Mom, look! Lily drew our whole family having dinner together." The autumn breeze scattered golden leaves across Whitmore Academy's sprawling lawn as Sam adjusted the final tent pole. All around him, parents and teachers bustled about, setting up colorful booths for the annual fall fair. He stepped back, wiping sweat from his forehead with his sleeve, and surveyed his handiwork. The white canvas tent stood perfectly straight, ready for the bake sale that would help fund the school's music program. Mr. Hayes, Miss Thompson, the music teacher, hurried over with a clipboard. "Thank goodness you're here. Could you help with the stage lights? They're not working properly." "Of course," Sam smiled, grabbing his tool belt. He'd traded his usual janitor's uniform for jeans and a clean flannel shirt, but he still felt most comfortable when his hands were busy with practical work. Across the fairground, Catherine Whitmore directed a team of volunteers with practiced ease. She wore casual clothes, a rarity for her, designer jeans and a soft sweater that made her look more approachable than her usual corporate attire. Her eyes met Sam's briefly, and she gave him a small nod of acknowledgement. "Dad." Lily came running up, already dressed in her costume for the musical performance. Her usual, shy demeanor had vanished behind excitement. "Miss Thompson says we go on in an hour." Sam knelt down and straightened the ribbon in her hair. "You've got this, sweetie. Remember what we practiced?" "Every night this week," she beamed, then lowered her voice. "Ethan's nervous, though. He has to sing too." As if summoned by his name, Ethan appeared beside them, fidgeting with his bow tie. "I don't want to do it anymore," he whispered to Lily. Sam glanced around and spotted Catherine deep in conversation with some board members. He crouched down to Ethan's level. "Hey buddy, want to know a secret? Everyone gets nervous before performing. Even grown-ups?" Ethan's eyes widened. "Especially grown-ups." Sam grinned. "But you know what helps? Having a friend up there with you." He looked meaningfully at Lily, who nodded enthusiastically. "We can hold hands between verses," Lily offered. "Miss Thompson said it's okay." The tension in Ethan's shoulders eased slightly. "Promise you won't let go?" "Promise!" Lily grabbed his hand right then, making him laugh. Sam watched them run off together, his heart swelling. A year ago, Lily would have been too scared to even participate in something like this. Now here she was, helping another child through their fears. The fair opened at noon, and families began streaming in. The air filled with the scent of popcorn and cotton candy, mixed with the sound of carnival games and excited chatter. Sam moved between tasks, fixing a stuck ring toss game, adjusting speakers, making sure the bounce house stayed properly inflated. Catherine appeared beside him as he tested the microphone on the small stage. "You've been everywhere today," she said, holding out a bottle of water. "The fair wouldn't run half as smoothly without you." "Just doing what needs doing." Sam accepted the water gratefully. "Thanks for sponsoring all this. The kids are thrilled." "Well, the board needed convincing that community engagement was worth the investment." She rolled her eyes. "But seeing all these happy faces, worth every penny an argument?" Before Sam could respond, Miss Thompson's voice came over the speakers, announcing the start of the children's musical performance. Parents rushed to claim seats in front of the stage, cameras ready. Sam found a spot near the back, not wanting to make Lily nervous. But Catherine grabbed his sleeve, pulling him toward the front row. "Don't be silly," she whispered. "Our children are performing. We should have the best view." Our children. The words sent an unexpected warmth through Sam's chest. The curtain opened to reveal 20 students arranged on risers. Lily stood in the front row, next to Ethan, their hands clasped between them. When the music started, Lily's clear voice rose above the others, strong and sure. Sam blinked rapidly, his throat tight with emotion. Catherine leaned close. "Did you know she could sing like that?" Sam shook his head, watching in amazement as his daughter shone on stage. Gone was the timid girl who used to hide behind his legs. In her place stood a confident performer, her smile bright enough to light up the whole fairground. The audience burst into applause when the song ended. Ethan and Lily took their bows together, grinning from ear to ear. As they ran off stage, Catherine wiped a tear from her eye, trying to be discreet about it. "They were wonderful," she said softly. Families mingled after the performance, congratulating the young performers. Sam found himself standing with Catherine as their children accepted compliments and cookies from proud teachers. The late afternoon sun cast a golden glow over everything, making the moment feel almost magical. Mrs. Whitmore, a photographer from the local paper, approached. "Would you mind if I got a photo? The paper would love to run a piece about the fair and your community involvement." Catherine hesitated for a fraction of a second. "Of course." She beckoned to Ethan, who came running, pulling Lily along with him. "Sam," Catherine called. "Join us, please." Sam started to decline, but Lily's hopeful face made him reconsider. He stepped forward, and Catherine arranged them naturally, the children in front, the adults behind them. Sam felt Catherine's shoulder brush against his as they posed. Perfect. The photographer adjusted his lens. What a lovely family picture this will make. The camera flashed, capturing the moment. Sam's smile froze as the word family echoed in his mind. Pride and joy mixed with a sharp edge of anxiety. This wasn't his world. These weren't the kinds of photos he belonged in. Yet standing there, with Lily beaming up at him and Catherine's warmth beside him, he couldn't help wishing it could be. The morning sun streamed through the floor to ceiling windows of Whitmore Enterprises, but dark clouds were gathering. Charles Denton stood by the coffee machine, his perfectly pressed suit matching his calculated smile as he showed his phone to a group of executives. "Quite the cozy little scene, isn't it?" he said, his voice dripping with false concern. "Our CEO seems to be getting rather close to her special consultant." The photo from the school fair filled the screen. Catherine and Sam, standing close together, their children between them, all four smiling like a perfect family portrait. Under normal circumstances, it would have been a heartwarming image. But in Charles's hands, it became something else entirely. "I'm just worried about the company's reputation," Charles continued, adjusting his gold cufflinks. "I mean, first she hires a janitor as a consultant, and now this?" The executives exchanged uncomfortable glances. One of them, Linda from marketing, spoke up. "They do look happy, though. Maybe it's not what you're suggesting." Charles's smile tightened. "Oh, Linda, you're so naive. Think about it. A single father, working as a janitor, suddenly gets close to one of the wealthiest women in the city? It's textbook manipulation." Down the hall, Sam was reviewing maintenance reports in his new office, a small space, but his first real office nonetheless. He didn't notice the stares through the glass walls or the whispers that followed when he walked to the break room. But he did notice when people stopped talking as soon as he entered a room. By lunchtime, the photo had made its way through most of the building. Charles made sure of that, forwarding it to concerned parties with carefully worded messages about protecting the company's interests. Catherine was in back-to-back meetings all morning, unaware of the storm brewing. Her assistant, Jenny, tried to warn her between meetings, but there was never enough time. "Miss Whitmore, there's something you should know." But Catherine was already rushing to her next appointment. Sam first realized something was wrong when he overheard two accounting clerks in the corridor. "Can you believe it?" one whispered. "Using his own daughter to get close to the CEO's son. It's disgusting. I heard he planned the whole rescue thing," the other replied. "Probably knew exactly when those bleachers would collapse." Sam's stomach turned. He wanted to confront them, to defend himself, but what could he say? The truth seemed too simple. He was just a man who'd helped a child in danger, who'd accepted a job offer to give his daughter a better life. Charles's campaign gained momentum throughout the day. He called a journalist friend at the city's biggest business magazine, painting a picture of scandal and manipulation. "I'm deeply concerned about the welfare of both the company and Catherine herself," he said, his voice grave. "This man appears to be taking advantage of her maternal instincts." By mid-afternoon, the first online article appeared. CEO's new man. Hero or fortune hunter? The story was careful to phrase everything as questions rather than accusations, but the damage was done. Sam's phone buzzed with a text from Lily's teacher. "Mr. Hayes, could we discuss some concerns that have come up today?" His heart sank, knowing his daughter was probably already feeling the effects of these rumors. Catherine's secretary finally managed to catch her between meetings. "Ma'am, there's been some talk about you and Mr. Hayes." She handed Catherine her tablet, showing her the online article. Catherine's face remained composed, but her hands gripped the tablet tighter as she read. Every word felt like a personal betrayal. She knew immediately who was behind this. Charles had been gunning for her position for years. In the boardroom, Charles was holding court. "I just think we need to consider the implications," he said to the gathered board members. "Our stocks could take a hit if this gets out of hand. And let's be honest, what do we really know about this man?" One of the older board members frowned. "He saved Catherine's son. That counts for something. Or was it just a very clever way to get his foot in the door?" Charles countered smoothly. "Think about it. He looks remarkably like Catherine's late husband. The perfect way to play on her emotions." The whispers grew louder throughout the afternoon. People Sam had worked with just that morning now avoided his gaze. The maintenance staff he'd known for years suddenly had urgent work elsewhere when he approached. Catherine tried to focus on her work, but the words on her computer screen blurred together. She thought about Sam, his quiet dignity, his genuine care for both their children, the way he never asked for anything in return for saving Ethan. How dare they twist something so pure into something ugly? At 4:30 p.m., her computer chimed with a new email. No sender name, just an attachment. Her hand shook slightly as she clicked it open. The photo from the school fair filled her screen. There they were, Sam's gentle smile, Ethan's laughter, Lily's shy grin, her own unguarded joy. Below it, typed in bold red letters, "Your janitor lover. This will ruin you." Catherine's hand trembled as she stared at the screen. The threat felt like ice in her veins, not because she feared for herself, but because she knew how much damage this could do to Sam and Lily. They didn't deserve this, any of this. The happy moment captured in the photo now seemed tainted, poisoned by malice and suspicion. In the late afternoon light of her office, Catherine sat very still, the anonymous email glowing accusingly on her screen, while outside her door, the whispers continued to grow. Catherine Whitmore stood in the school auditorium, watching the maintenance staff arrange rows of chairs. Her heels clicked against the polished floor as she checked every detail one last time. The stage gleamed under fresh spotlights, and a large banner read, "Honoring Our Everyday Heroes." "Mrs. Martinez, are the programs ready?" Catherine asked the school secretary, her usual commanding tone softened by nervous energy. "Yes, Miss Whitmore. And the children finished making their thank you cards this morning." Catherine picked up one of the handmade cards, smiling at the wobbly letters and colorful drawings. Ethan had spent hours on his, determined to make it perfect for Sam. In her office earlier that day, Catherine had practiced her speech until every word felt right. This wasn't about corporate success or business achievements. This was about recognizing true worth, something she'd learned to see differently since Sam entered their lives. The afternoon sun painted warm rectangles on the floor as parents and students began filing in. Sam and Lily arrived quietly, slipping into seats near the back. Catherine noticed Sam tugging at his tie. New, she could tell, but modest like everything else about him. "Daddy, you look so handsome," Lily whispered to Sam, straightening his tie with small, careful hands. Ethan spotted them and waved enthusiastically from his seat in the front row. "Sam! Sam, we saved you special seats up here!" Catherine watched as Sam hesitated, then guided Lily toward the front. Several board members from Whitmore Enterprises were present, including Charles, who barely concealed his sneer. Principal Wagner stepped up to the microphone. "Welcome, everyone. We're gathered today to celebrate an act of extraordinary courage that took place right here in our gymnasium." The ceremony unfolded with the school choir singing, followed by students reading essays about everyday heroes. Ethan bounced in his seat, clutching his card, while Lily beamed with quiet pride. When Catherine took the stage, she felt an unfamiliar flutter in her stomach. This wasn't like her thousands of corporate speeches. This mattered more. 2 months ago, she began, her voice clear and strong, "I almost lost what matters most to me." She paused, meeting Ethan's eyes. "My son was trapped, and in that moment, titles didn't matter. Money didn't matter. What mattered was the courage of one person who didn't hesitate to help." Sam shifted in his seat, his face flushed. Catherine continued, "We often overlook the quiet strength around us. We judge worth by the wrong measures. Samuel Hayes taught all of us, that true character isn't found in a job title or a bank account, but in actions and heart." Students started bringing their cards forward, creating a colorful pile on the table near Sam. Ethan went last, throwing his arms around Sam's neck in a tight hug. "Thank you for saving me," he said loud enough for everyone to hear. "You're my hero." The applause was genuine, touching even the most skeptical hearts. Catherine watched as various parents approached Sam, shaking his hand, thanking him for setting such an example for their children. Later, as the crowd thinned, Catherine found Sam standing alone by the gymnasium doors where it had all started. "I hope it wasn't too much," she said softly, joining him. Sam shook his head, emotion making his voice rough. "You didn't have to do all this." "Yes, I did." Catherine turned to face him fully. "Sam, I need you to know something. These past months, watching you with Ethan, seeing how you handle everything with such grace, I admire you, deeply." Their eyes met, and the air seemed to grow thick with unspoken feelings. Sam's hand moved slightly, almost reaching for hers, then stopped. "Catherine," he said quietly, "I don't know what to say, except, thank you for seeing me, really seeing me." A warm current flowed between them, something new and fragile and wonderful. But then Sam's expression shifted as he noticed Charles watching them from across the room, phone in hand. The rumors, Sam murmured, his joy dimming slightly. They're getting worse, aren't they? Catherine wanted to deny it, to brush away the shadow crossing his face. Instead, she just stood there, feeling the precious moments slip away like sand through her fingers. Lily appeared at Sam's side, proudly clutching an armful of thank you cards. "Look at all of these, Daddy. Can we put them up on our wall at home?" Sam's smile returned, genuine but careful. "Sure we can, sweetheart. Every single one." The three of them stood there in the fading afternoon light, Catherine, Sam, and Lily, while Ethan's laughter echoed from somewhere in the building. It was a perfect moment, but Sam could feel the weight of watching eyes, the whispers growing louder with each passing day. Sam's morning routine usually started with making Lily's lunch and helping her pick out clothes for school. But today, the harsh ring of his phone jolted him awake before dawn. His colleague from the maintenance staff had texted, "Check the morning paper." With trembling hands, Sam unfolded the newspaper left at his apartment door. His heart sank as he read the headline, "Romance or Manipulation? Questions arise about CEO Catherine Whitmore's special consultant." Below it was the photo from the school fair, showing him standing close to Catherine, their children laughing together. The article painted him as an opportunist, suggesting he had orchestrated the bleacher accident to gain Catherine's trust. It quoted anonymous sources claiming he was using his daughter's friendship with Ethan to climb the social ladder. Each word felt like a physical blow. "Daddy?" Lily's sleepy voice came from her bedroom doorway. "Why are you up so early?" Sam quickly folded the newspaper and forced a smile. "Just getting an early start, sweetheart. How about pancakes for breakfast?" While Lily ate, Sam's phone buzzed continuously with messages from co-workers and even parents from school. He ignored them all, focusing instead on braiding Lily's hair just the way she liked it. At the Whitmore building, the usual morning greetings turned to whispers and sideways glances. Sam kept his head high, though his chest felt tight. He had known this world of privilege wasn't his, but he hadn't expected it to hurt quite this much. Catherine's assistant intercepted him before he could reach his small office. "Miss Whitmore needs to see you immediately." Her tone was clipped, professional, but her eyes held pity. The executive floor seemed colder than usual. Through the glass walls, Sam could see Catherine pacing in her office, surrounded by men in expensive suits. Board members, he realized. She looked pale and drawn, nothing like the confident woman who had praised him at yesterday's ceremony. "Mr. Hayes," one of the board members greeted him as he entered. "Please, have a seat." "I prefer to stand," Sam replied quietly, his dignity the only shield he had left. Catherine wouldn't meet his eyes. She stood by the window, her back rigid with tension. Charles Morton, the board member who had always regarded Sam with barely concealed disdain, took charge of the conversation. "Mr. Hayes, surely you understand the position we're in?" Charles said, his voice smooth as oil. "These allegations, whether true or not, are damaging to Whitmore Enterprises' reputation." "They're not true," Sam stated firmly. "I've never wanted anything except to do my job, both jobs, honestly and well." "Nevertheless," Charles continued, "the appearance of impropriety, Sam." Catherine finally turned around, and the pain in her eyes matched what he felt in his heart. "We need to consider what's best for everyone involved. The company, the children." Sam understood then. This wasn't just about him anymore. His presence was threatening everything Catherine had built, everything she needed to protect. The weight of class differences and social expectations was crushing whatever had been growing between them. "The board feels," Catherine continued, her voice barely steady, "and I agree, that it would be best if you stepped back from your consulting position. And, perhaps some distance between our families would be wise, just until this dies down." The silence that followed felt endless. Sam thought of Lily's growing confidence, of Ethan's trust in him, of the quiet moments when Catherine's smile had made him forget he was just a janitor. All of it, slipping away like sand through his fingers. "I understand," he said finally, his voice low but clear. "I'll clear out my office today." "We'll provide a generous severance package," Charles interjected, but Sam raised his hand. "No need. I still have my maintenance job at the school." That's honest work, and it's enough." Catherine flinched at his words, but Sam couldn't bear to look at her any longer. He turned toward the door, then paused. "Miss Whitmore," he said formally, "thank you for the opportunity you gave me. I'm sorry it ended this way." In the elevator, Sam pulled out his phone and texted Lily's teacher. He would pick her up early today. They needed a fresh start, away from the whispers and judgments. As the floors ticked by, he remembered something his late wife used to say, "Sometimes the bravest thing is knowing when to walk away." Back in his small office, Sam packed his few belongings into a cardboard box. A family photo, Lily's drawings, the tie Catherine had given him for his first board meeting. His hands shook slightly as he placed them one by one into the box. The walk through the office felt like a marathon. Co-workers quickly looked away, some muttering sympathetically, others smirking behind their computer screens. Sam kept his head high, just as he had taught Lily to do when facing difficult situations. At the school, Lily was surprised to see him early, but happy as always. "Daddy, look what I drew today." She held up a picture of 4 stick figures, herself, Sam, Catherine, and Ethan. Sam's throat tightened. "That's beautiful, sweetheart. But listen, we need to talk about some changes." They sat on a bench outside the school, the same bench where he had first really talked with Catherine. Lily listened quietly as he explained they wouldn't be seeing Catherine and Ethan for a while. Her small face fell, but she nodded bravely. "Are they mad at us, Daddy?" "No, honey." Sam hugged her close. "Sometimes grown up things are complicated. But we'll be okay, just you and me. We always are." As they walked to their car, Sam saw Catherine's sleek black vehicle pull up to collect Ethan. He quickened his pace, guiding Lily away. Behind them, he heard Ethan's voice calling Lily's name, but he couldn't turn back. Not now. They drove home in silence, Lily clutching her drawing, Sam gripping the steering wheel too tightly. The newspaper lay crumpled in his box, its accusations already changing their lives. But as he glanced at his daughter in the rearview mirror, Sam knew they would survive this, just as they had survived everything else. Sam's small apartment felt even tinier than usual as he watched Lily push her dinner around her plate. The macaroni and cheese, usually her favorite, sat untouched, growing cold under the harsh kitchen light. Outside, rain tapped against the windows, matching their gloomy mood. "Sweetie, you need to eat something," Sam said softly, reaching across the worn kitchen table to touch her hand. Lily pulled away, her eyes fixed on her plate. "I'm not hungry," she whispered, her voice thick with unshed tears. Sam's heart ached. Just days ago, they'd been sharing meals with Catherine and Ethan, laughing and talking like they belonged. Now, everything had crumbled around them. He'd picked Lily up early from school today, after the secretary called, saying she'd been crying in the bathroom. "Want to tell me what happened at school?" he asked gently. Lily's lower lip trembled. "Madison and Taylor were talking during lunch, they said. She hiccuped, tears finally spilling down her cheeks. "They said you were just trash, trying to steal Mrs. Whitmore's money. That we don't belong there." Sam pushed back from the table, his chair scraping against the linoleum floor. He walked around to Lily's side and knelt beside her chair. "Look at me, princess." When she finally met his eyes, the pain he saw there made his chest tight. "Those girls are wrong. We might not have fancy things, but we're not trash. You know that, right?" Lily threw herself into his arms, sobbing into his shoulder. "But why did Mrs. Whitmore send us away? Ethan was my friend. And you liked her, Daddy. I saw how you smiled at her." Sam held his daughter close, fighting back his own tears. How could he explain adult complexities to an 8-year-old when he barely understood them himself? The warmth he'd felt growing between him and Catherine, the way Ethan had looked up to him, the sense of possibility. It had all been a beautiful dream. "Sometimes," he said carefully, "grown-ups have to make hard choices. Mrs. Whitmore has a big company to run, and people were saying mean things that could hurt her business." "But they're lying," Lily protested, her voice muffled against his shirt. "I know, sweetheart. I know." He stroked her hair, remembering how Catherine had done the same thing when Lily had fallen during the school fair. The memory stung. Later that night, after finally getting Lily to eat a few bites, Sam tucked her into bed. Her eyes were red and puffy from crying, but exhaustion had finally won out. He sat on the edge of her small bed, watching her clutch the stuffed unicorn Ethan had given her. "Daddy?" she mumbled, already half asleep. "Yes, Princess? Can we move away? Start fresh somewhere else?" The question hit him like a punch to the gut. Running away had never been his style, but seeing his daughter hurting like this made him consider it. "We'll figure something out," he promised, kissing her forehead. "Sweet dreams." He stayed until her breathing evened out, then quietly left her room. In the living room, he sank onto their threadbare couch and buried his face in his hands. The newspaper lay on the coffee table, mocking him with its cruel headlines. He should have known better than to dream above his station. A janitor falling for a CEO? It was like something out of a fairy tale. Across town, in her sprawling mansion, Catherine Whitmore sat alone in her study. The room's elegant furnishings and expensive art felt cold and empty tonight. She picked up a framed photo from her desk, the one from the school fair that had caused so much trouble. But she wasn't looking at herself or Sam in the picture. She was looking at Ethan's smile. Her son hadn't truly smiled like that since his father died. Not until Sam came into their lives. Now Ethan's face had returned to the polite, distant expression he wore at board meetings and charity events. The son of a CEO, already learning to hide his feelings. Catherine set down her wineglass and pressed her fingers to her temples. The board meeting today had been brutal. Charles had practically gloated as he presented the evidence of Sam's supposed manipulation. Social media was buzzing with speculation about her judgment. The company's stock had taken a hit. She'd done what was necessary to protect the company, her position, her son's inheritance. So why did it feel like she'd lost something far more valuable? A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. "Mom?" Ethan stood in the doorway in his pajamas, looking small and uncertain. "What is it, sweetheart? You should be in bed. Can I call Lily? Just to say good night?" Catherine's throat tightened. "I don't think that's a good idea right now." "But why?" Ethan's voice cracked. "She's my friend. And Mr. Hayes, he saved me. He's nice. He listens to me, like Dad used to." "It's complicated, Ethan. Adult things you wouldn't understand. That's what you always say." He turned and walked away, leaving Catherine alone with her thoughts. She picked up the photo again, running her finger over Sam's image. She missed his quiet strength, his unpretentious wisdom, the way he saw through corporate games to what really mattered. In just a few months, he'd become a steadying presence in her life, someone she could trust to tell her the truth. Now her house felt too big, too quiet. Ethan's smile, once rekindled, had gone out again. And Catherine realized that in trying to protect everything she'd built, she might have torn down something even more precious. She walked to the window, watching rain fall on her manicured gardens. Somewhere across the city, in a small apartment, a father was comforting his heartbroken daughter. And here she sat, surrounded by wealth and status, feeling poorer than she had in years. The hallway outside Catherine's home office was quiet, but Ethan could hear the muffled sounds coming from behind the heavy wooden door. He pressed his ear closer, his heart beating faster as he recognized his mother's voice. Not her usual strong, confident tone, but something broken and unfamiliar. "I've ruined everything," Catherine's voice cracked. "I pushed away the one person who saw me, really saw me, not just as CEO Catherine Whitmore." Ethan's stomach twisted. He'd never heard his mother cry before, not even when they talked about his dad. Through the gap under the door, he could see her pacing, her designer heels clicking against the hardwood floor. "I let them pressure me," she continued, probably talking on the phone. "I chose the company's image over," her voice caught, "over what could have been real happiness. For all of us." Ethan backed away from the door, his chest tight. He knew she was talking about Sam. Sam, who always smiled at him, who listened to his stories about school, who made his mom laugh in a way he hadn't heard since before Dad died. Sam, who was gone now because of him and his big mouth at that fancy lunch. The next day at school, Ethan couldn't focus. During math, he drew pictures of Sam saving him from the bleachers instead of solving problems. At lunch, he saw Lily sitting alone, and his heart hurt even more. She used to sit with him, but now she barely looked up from her sandwich. When the final bell rang, instead of heading to his usual pickup spot, Ethan made a decision. His backpack felt heavy as he walked past the waiting cars and parent volunteers. Nobody noticed him slip away. They were all too busy with other kids. He made his way to the gymnasium, his footsteps echoing in the empty hallway. The big double doors creaked as he pushed them open. The bleachers, the same ones that had nearly crushed him, stood silent and tall against the wall. Ethan crawled underneath, into the dusty space where it had all started. Back in her office, Catherine was reviewing contracts when her phone buzzed. The school's number flashed on the screen. "Miss Whitmore?" The secretary's voice was tight with worry. Ethan wasn't at pickup. None of the teachers can find him. Catherine's blood ran cold. "What do you mean? Can't find him? We've searched his usual spots. The playground, the library, the cafeteria. He's not anywhere." Catherine was already grabbing her keys, her hands shaking. "I'm on my way. Call everyone. Security, teachers, anyone who can help search." The drive to school was a blur of red lights and honking horns. Catherine barely remembered parking her car before she was running through the school's main entrance. Teachers and staff members hurried past with worried faces, calling Ethan's name. "We've called the police," the principal informed her, jogging to keep up with Catherine's rapid pace. "They're sending officers to help with the search." Catherine nodded mechanically, her mind racing through terrible possibilities. Had someone taken him? Was he hurt? Lost? Her heels clicked frantically against the floor as she checked classroom after classroom. In another part of the school, Sam was finishing his evening cleaning routine. He'd switched back to night janitorial work, finding it easier to avoid the whispers and stares. The vacuum's steady hum stopped abruptly when he heard commotion in the hallway. Stepping out, he saw teachers rushing past, their faces drawn with concern. He caught fragments of their conversations. "Check the soccer field," called his mother. "Police are coming." "What's happening?" Sam asked a passing teacher. "Ethan Whitmore's missing," she replied, barely slowing down. "No one's seen him since final bell." Sam's heart jumped into his throat. Without thinking, he dropped his cleaning supplies and started walking, then running. His feet carried him toward the gymnasium, drawn by an instinct he couldn't explain. The gym was dark when he pushed open the doors. Switching on the lights, Sam surveyed the empty space. Everything looked normal. The polished floor, the basketball hoops, the bleachers. The bleachers. Sam approached slowly, memories of that rescue flooding back. He crouched down, peering into the shadowy space underneath. There, curled up in the furthest corner, was a small figure with familiar sandy brown hair. "Ethan." Sam kept his voice gentle, non-threatening. The boy's head snapped up, eyes wide and red-rimmed. "Sam?" His voice was small and wobbly. "Hey, buddy, you've got a lot of people worried about you." Sam stayed where he was, giving Ethan space. "Want to tell me what's going on?" Tears started rolling down Ethan's cheeks. "It's all my fault. Mom's sad because of what I said at the lunch. About you being my daddy. Now everything's ruined, and she cries in her office, and Lily won't play with me anymore, and—" His words dissolved into hiccups. Sam's chest ached. He slowly sat down cross-legged on the floor. "Can I tell you a secret, Ethan? None of this is your fault. Sometimes grown-ups make things complicated when they don't need to be. But if I hadn't said anything, you were just being honest. That's never wrong." Sam smiled softly. "You know what? I miss you too. And Lily, she misses you a lot. She talks about you every day." Ethan sniffled, wiping his nose on his sleeve. "Really?" "Really." Sam held out his hand. "What do you say we get out of here and find your mom? She must be really scared right now." Ethan hesitated, then slowly crawled forward. As he emerged from under the bleachers, footsteps echoed through the gymnasium. Catherine appeared in the doorway, her face pale with worry. "Ethan!" Her voice cracked with relief. "Mom!" Ethan ran to her, throwing himself into her arms. Catherine held him tight, her shoulders shaking as she pressed kisses to his hair. Sam stood quietly, brushing dust from his janitor's uniform. This moment wasn't for him. He turned to leave, but Ethan's voice stopped him. "Sam found me, Mom, just like last time." The empty gym echoed with Sam's footsteps as he made his final rounds, the mop bucket squeaking across the polished floor. His shoulders felt heavy, weighed down by the events of the past few days. The bleachers cast long shadows in the dim evening light, reminding him of that morning weeks ago when everything had changed. A soft sniffle caught his attention. Sam stopped, his head tilting as he listened. There it was again, the unmistakable sound of someone crying, coming from beneath the bleachers. His heart quickened as he set the mop aside and walked closer. "Hello?" he called out gently. "Is someone there?" The crying stopped abruptly, followed by a rustling sound. Sam crouched down, peering into the darkness under the bleachers. His eyes widened as he spotted a small figure huddled in the corner. "Ethan?" The boy's tear-stained face turned toward him, his blue eyes wide with recognition. "Mr. Sam? What are you doing under there, buddy?" Sam kept his voice calm and steady, though his mind raced with worry. "Everyone's looking for you." Ethan wiped his nose with his sleeve. "I don't want to go home." Sam sat down cross-legged on the floor, maintaining a careful distance so as not to spook the boy. "That must be a pretty big reason to hide out here. Want to tell me about it?" "I heard Mommy crying." Ethan's voice cracked. "She said she ruined everything. It's because of me, isn't it? Because I said that thing at the lunch about you being my daddy?" Sam's heart clenched. "No, Ethan, none of this is your fault. But now you're gone." Ethan's words tumbled out between sobs. "Just like my real daddy. Everyone leaves. And Mommy's sad all the time, and Lily doesn't talk to me at school anymore, and I just wanted—" He hiccuped, unable to finish. Sam inched closer, his voice gentle. "Can I come sit with you?" Ethan nodded, and Sam carefully maneuvered himself under the bleachers, settling beside the boy. The space was cramped for his tall frame, but he didn't mind. "You know what I think?" Sam said softly. "I think sometimes grown-ups make things more complicated than they need to be. We worry about what other people think, or about making mistakes. And sometimes we forget what's really important." Ethan leaned slightly against Sam's arm. "Like being friends?" "Exactly like being friends." Sam smiled. "And you know what else? Just because someone isn't around all the time doesn't mean they stop caring." "Really? Really? Look at your dad. I know I never met him, but I bet he loved you more than anything in the world. And even though he's not here, that love doesn't go away." Ethan's small hand found Sam's larger one. "I remember how he used to push me on the swings. Sometimes." He hesitated. "Sometimes when you were helping me with my math homework, it felt like that again." Sam squeezed Ethan's hand gently. "Listen, buddy, I know things are confusing right now, but you don't have to worry about losing me or Lily. We might not see each other as much, but we'll always be your friends. Promise?" "I promise." Sam reached out slowly and wrapped an arm around Ethan's shoulders. The boy immediately turned and buried his face in Sam's shirt, his small body shaking with fresh tears. "It's okay," Sam murmured, holding him close. "Let it all out. Sometimes we all need a good cry." They sat there in the dim light, Sam rubbing small circles on Ethan's back as the boy's sobs gradually quieted. He hummed softly, an old lullaby he used to sing to Lily when she was younger. "Mr. Sam." Ethan's voice was muffled against his shirt. "Yeah? I'm sorry I hid." "I know, buddy. Your mom's probably really worried about you. What do you say we get you out of here?" Ethan nodded, and Sam helped him crawl out from under the bleachers. As they emerged into the gym, the double doors burst open. Catherine stood there, her usually perfect hair disheveled, her face pale with worry. "Ethan!" she cried out. "Mommy!" Ethan started to run toward her, but stopped, turning back to grab Sam's hand. Can Mr. Sam come too?" Catherine's eyes met Sam's over their son's head, filled with a mix of relief and something deeper, something that made Sam's heart skip a beat. She nodded, unable to speak. Sam lifted Ethan into his arms, the boy's head resting trustingly on his shoulder. "It's okay," he whispered. "Your mom's here now. Everything's going to be all right." Catherine watched them, her hand pressed to her mouth, tears streaming down her face as she witnessed the gentle way Sam held her son, the absolute trust in Ethan's posture, the pure, uncomplicated love that flowed between them. In that moment, she saw what her son had known all along, that sometimes the most precious things in life had nothing to do with status or appearance, and everything to do with the capacity of one heart to care for another. Catherine Whitmore's heels clicked sharply against the marble floors as she strode toward the boardroom. Her face was set with determination, though her heart hammered in her chest. The morning sun streamed through the tall windows of Whitmore Enterprises, casting long shadows across the hallway. She paused briefly outside the heavy wooden doors, smoothing her navy blazer. In her hand, she clutched a manila folder containing the evidence she'd gathered over the weekend, proof of Charles's underhanded tactics and manipulation of the media. Taking a deep breath, she pushed open the doors. The board members sat around the long mahogany table, their faces a mix of concern and curiosity. Charles Denton lounged in his chair, a smug smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice," Catherine said, her voice steady and clear. She remained standing at the head of the table, drawing strength from her full height. "I've called this meeting to address the recent situation regarding Samuel Hayes." Charles leaned forward, his expensive suit rustling. "Catherine, we've been meaning to discuss your questionable judgment in this matter." "Have you, Charles?" Catherine's blue eyes fixed on him. "Or have you been too busy planting stories in the press?" A ripple of murmurs went through the room. Catherine opened her folder and began distributing copies of emails and newspaper clippings. "These are copies of correspondence between Mr. Denton and several journalists," she explained, her voice carrying to every corner of the room. "You'll notice the time stamps match perfectly with the appearance of each damaging article about Sam Hayes." Charles's face reddened. "This is ridiculous. You're trying to deflect from your own poor choices." "My choices?" Catherine's voice rose slightly. "Let's talk about choices, Charles. Let's talk about how you chose to destroy a good man's reputation because you felt threatened by his presence here." She turned to address the entire board. "Sam Hayes saved my son's life. Not for recognition, not for reward, but because it was the right thing to do. When I offered him a position here, he was reluctant, worried about fitting in, and now I see his concerns were justified." Catherine pulled out the photograph that had appeared in the papers. This picture? Charles had it taken at a school fair, a community event where parents and children gathered to support their school. He twisted something beautiful into something scandalous. One of the older board members, Margaret Chen, spoke up. "Catherine, while we sympathize with your gratitude toward Mr. Hayes, you must understand how this appears." "How it appears?" Catherine's laugh was sharp. "What appears is that we've become so obsessed with image that we've forgotten what truly matters. Sam Hayes is a man of integrity. He works hard, raises his daughter alone, and shows kindness to everyone, regardless of their status or wealth." She placed both hands on the table, leaning forward. "While some of us were busy plotting in corner offices, Sam was identifying inefficiencies in our operations that could save this company millions. While others were spreading gossip, he was helping my son heal from the loss of his father." Charles stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. "This is preposterous. You're letting your personal feelings cloud your judgment. The man is clearly manipulating you." "Enough!" Catherine's voice cracked like a whip. "The only manipulation here has been yours, Charles. Your jealousy, your need for control. It ends today." She straightened up, drawing herself to her full height. "I've spent years building this company, sacrificing personal happiness for the sake of appearance. I've played by the rules, maintained the image you all thought necessary. But I won't sacrifice my integrity, or Sam's, for the sake of your prejudices." The room fell silent. Catherine could hear her own heart beating as she continued, her voice softer but no less firm. "Sam Hayes might be a janitor, but he has shown more character, more genuine leadership, than some who sit in this room wearing $1,000 suits." Margaret Chen cleared her throat. "Catherine, what exactly are you asking of this board?" "I'm not asking anything. I'm telling you that Sam Hayes deserves our respect, not our scorn, and I'm informing you that Charles Denton's attempt to undermine both Sam and myself Through these underhanded tactics will be addressed appropriately. She turned to Charles, who had sunk back into his chair. You have a choice to make, Charles. You can resign quietly, or we can discuss your actions in detail at the next shareholders' meeting. The board members exchanged glances. Robert Wilson, the eldest member, spoke up. I've known Catherine for 20 years. She's never steered us wrong. If she vouches for this man's character, I believe her. One by one, other board members nodded in agreement. Charles's face had gone from red to pale, his earlier smugness completely evaporated. Furthermore, Catherine continued, her voice strong and clear, I want it understood that this company will no longer base its decisions on class prejudice or social status. We will judge people by their character and their contributions, nothing else. Margaret Chen stood up, straightening her jacket. I second that notion. We've perhaps become too focused on appearance and not enough on substance. Charles looked around the table, finding no allies in the faces of his fellow board members. His shoulders slumped in defeat. Catherine felt a weight lift from her shoulders. For years, she'd carried the burden of others' expectations, shaped herself to fit their mold of what a CEO should be. But standing here now, defending what she knew was right, she felt truly powerful for the first time in years. This meeting is adjourned, she announced, gathering her papers. I trust we all understand each other. As the board members filed out, many nodding respectfully to her as they passed, Catherine remained standing at the head of the table. The morning sun had shifted, filling the room with warm light. She took a deep breath, feeling something she hadn't experienced in years. The lightness of being true to herself, of standing up for what she believed in. Charles was the last to leave, his defeat evident in every step. As the door closed behind him, Catherine allowed herself a small smile. She had faced down the threats and prejudices that had nearly destroyed something precious. More importantly, she had finally broken free from the golden cage of expectations that had confined her for so long. The evening sun cast golden rays through the tall windows of Catherine's mansion as Sam's old pickup truck rumbled up the circular driveway. He glanced at Lily in the passenger seat, her small hands clutching a carefully wrapped plate of homemade chocolate chip cookies. You sure about this, sweetie? Sam asked, putting the truck in park. Lily nodded, her eyes wide with excitement. Ethan said they're having spaghetti and meatballs. That's my favorite. Sam helped Lily down from the truck, her Sunday dress swishing around her knees. Before they could reach the front steps, the massive door swung open. Ethan burst out, running full speed toward them. You came, he shouted, nearly knocking Lily over with his enthusiasm. Mom's in the kitchen. She's actually cooking. Sam raised his eyebrows in surprise. Catherine appeared in the doorway, wearing a simple black dress with an apron tied around her waist. Her hair was pulled back in a casual ponytail, so different from her usual corporate polish. I heard that, young man, Catherine called out, but her smile was warm. Come in, everyone. And yes, I do know how to cook. Sometimes. The house felt different tonight. Instead of its usual museum-like formality, there was warmth in the air. Music played softly from hidden speakers, and delicious aromas wafted from the kitchen. Can we help? Sam offered, following Catherine into the spacious kitchen. Actually, yes. Catherine handed him a wooden spoon. The sauce needs stirring. I'm slightly terrified of it burning. Mrs. Martinez, the housekeeper who had initially regarded Sam with suspicion, now smiled as she worked alongside them. Senor Hayes, would you taste this? I think it needs more garlic. The kitchen filled with casual conversation and laughter as they worked together. Lily and Ethan set the table, arguing playfully about the proper placement of forks. Catherine watched them with soft eyes. They're good for each other, she murmured to Sam. Sam nodded, continuing to stir the sauce. Lily's changed so much since meeting Ethan. She smiles more. So do you, Catherine said quietly. Their eyes met briefly before both looked away, cheeks flushed. When dinner was ready, they gathered around the formal dining table, though tonight it felt anything but formal. Ethan insisted on sitting next to Lily, and they giggled together as they twirled massive portions of spaghetti on their forks. Remember to breathe between bites, Sam chuckled, watching the children attack their food with gusto. Mrs. Martinez brought out fresh garlic bread, and even Mr. Peters, the usually stoic butler, joined in the casual conversation. He shared stories about Catherine as a young girl that had everyone laughing. "I was not that bad," Catherine protested, but her eyes sparkled with mirth. "Oh yes, you were, Miss Catherine," Mr. Peters insisted. "Especially the time you decided to give yourself a haircut right before your mother's charity gala." The evening flowed naturally, without the stiffness of their previous encounters. After dinner, they moved to the family room, a space Catherine admitted she rarely used. Ethan proudly showed Lily his video game collection while the adults settled into comfortable chairs. Mrs. Martinez brought out coffee and Lily's cookies, which earned genuine praise from everyone. "These are wonderful, Lily," Catherine said, reaching for a second one. "You must share the recipe with our chef." Lily beamed with pride. "It's my mom's recipe," she said softly. "Dad helped me make them." A comfortable silence fell over the room. Sam watched as Catherine's expression softened with understanding. She reached over and squeezed Lily's hand gently. As the evening grew later, the children's energy began to fade. They had moved to the large sectional sofa, where Ethan was showing Lily his favorite cartoon. Their heads grew heavy, eventually leaning against each other as sleep overtook them. Sam and Catherine stood together, watching their children's peaceful faces. Without speaking, Catherine reached for a soft throw blanket draped over a nearby chair. Together, they gently covered Ethan and Lily. Their hands brushed as they tucked the blanket around the children's shoulders. Neither pulled away immediately. In the dim light of the family room, with their children sleeping soundly, they shared a moment of perfect understanding. Lily's small hand still clutched Ethan's sleeve, and Ethan's head rested against Lily's shoulder. They looked so natural together, so comfortable in their friendship. Sam and Catherine stood close, shoulders nearly touching, both lost in the simple beauty of the moment. The house was quiet now, save for the children's soft breathing and the distant ticking of an antique clock. Through the windows, stars twinkled in the dark sky, witnesses to this peaceful scene where two families, once divided by circumstance, stood united in the warmth of genuine connection. The morning sunlight streamed through the windows of Whitmore Enterprises, casting a warm glow across Sam's new office. It wasn't huge or fancy, but it had a desk, a comfortable chair, and a small photo frame holding a picture of Lily. He smiled, remembering how far they'd come in just a few weeks. A soft knock on his door made him look up. "Come in," he called. Catherine stepped inside, looking elegant as always in her business attire, but there was a softness to her now that hadn't been there before. "Ready for the morning meeting?" she asked. "Just finishing up these efficiency reports," Sam replied, gathering his papers. He still felt a bit strange wearing a suit, but it fit better now, both the fabric and his role. "The board actually listens to you now," Catherine said with a hint of pride. "Charles hasn't said a word since that day." Sam shrugged, modest as ever. "Just doing my job. Speaking of which, did you see Lily's latest test score?" Catherine's face lit up. "Mrs. Peterson showed me yesterday. Top of her class in math. And Ethan told me they're partnering for the science fair next month." They walked together to the conference room, their steps in comfortable sync. The employees they passed nodded respectfully. No more whispers, no more sneers. Sam had earned his place here, not through grand gestures, but through honest work and genuine care. Later that afternoon, Sam left early to pick up the kids from school. As he waited outside the classroom, he heard their laughter before he saw them. Lily and Ethan burst through the door together, backpacks bouncing. "Dad!" Lily called out, running to hug him. "We got an A on our history project." Ethan joined them, his eyes bright. "Can we go to the park? Mom said she'd meet us there after her last meeting." Sam checked his watch. "I think we can manage that. Did you both finish your homework?" "Yes," they chorused, already heading for the exit. The local park was peaceful this time of day. Sam sat on a bench, watching Lily and Ethan play on the swings. Lily no longer hunched her shoulders or tried to make herself invisible. She laughed freely now, her voice carrying across the playground. "Higher!" Ethan called out as he pumped his legs. "I'm going to touch the clouds!" "Be careful," Sam called automatically, though he knew they were safe. They're growing up so fast, Catherine's voice came from behind him. She settled onto the bench beside him, having changed from her business suit into casual slacks and a sweater. Too fast, Sam agreed, making room for her. They watched their children play in comfortable silence. The afternoon sun painted everything in soft gold, including Catherine's hair. Sam found himself stealing glances at her, still amazed at how natural this felt now. "The board approved your proposal for the employee education program," Catherine said suddenly. "Full funding, starting next quarter." Sam's eyes widened. "Really? That'll help so many of the maintenance staff get their degrees." "It was a good idea, Sam. You see things others miss? Opportunities where everyone else sees problems." She turned to face him fully. "You've changed this company. Changed us." Before Sam could respond, Ethan and Lily ran over, breathless and grinning. "Can we get ice cream?" Lily asked, her eyes hopeful. "Please?" Ethan added, bouncing on his toes. Catherine stood up, smoothing her slacks. "I know just the place. It's a short walk from here." They set off together down the tree-lined path, the kids skipping ahead, pointing out squirrels and interesting leaves. Sam and Catherine walked behind them, their pace unhurried. "Remember when you first started at the company?" Catherine asked softly. "You were so worried about fitting in." Sam chuckled. "I still had floor cleaner under my fingernails. And now, you're revolutionizing our operational systems." She paused, watching the children. "Ethan asks about you every morning, you know. Wants to know if you'll be at the office." "He's a good kid," Sam said warmly. "They both are." The path curved around a small pond where ducks paddled lazily. Lily and Ethan stopped to watch them, their heads bent together as they counted the babies. 7, Lily announced proudly. 8, Ethan corrected, pointing to one hiding behind its mother. Catherine's hand brushed against Sam's as they walked, a touch so light it might have been accidental, but when he glanced at her, she was looking at him with an expression that made his heart skip, hope, affection, and something deeper shining in her eyes. Sam smiled back, feeling truly seen. Not as the janitor, not as the hero who saved her son, but as himself, just Sam Hayes, a father who wanted the best for his daughter, a man who believed in honest work and quiet kindness. The afternoon sun warmed their shoulders as they walked on, their shadows stretching long behind them. Ahead, Lily and Ethan's laughter rang out clear and joyful, a sound that seemed to contain all the promise of tomorrow. What would you do if you were in their place? Comment your answer below, and let's see how you'd rewrite the ending. If you enjoyed the story of Samuel Sam Hayes, I handpicked the next story that you will enjoy. Please don't miss this one. Click here to watch it.